with my head of operations, Ace Blades. He is currently on the other side of the planet fighting spiders as big as a car. So, I have decided instead to prepare a little video for your viewing enjoyment.
In open areas. And
that is not correct. But that's okay. Because that's why we have this. Oh, I can close the box.
I told you I was a camp master.
Yes, finally how is it you use a PC?
Runs on electricity, not nuclear fission. I'm sorry.
All of my evil science runs on a Mac, which is probably why it doesn't work. All right.
How do you keep getting in here? Sick around man and sell me during the holidays. So the batteries what? What could you possibly need batteries for?
Oh my god.
Hold control and hit the escape key for
there we go. How's it quick? Get this.
Hold the control key to the space bar and hit the escape key for 20 minutes. You seem to be on the back.
Have that happen, please. So only if you use something as good as this guy. Yes? Okay, yes. Okay, beginning and you. Enjoy.
How do you keep getting in here? Sick around man and sell me during the holidays. So the batteries what? What could you possibly need batteries for? Because you can't. I'm just disappointed that it's not actually magic. Like, you can't even try to open it at this point. Because magic doesn't run on double A's. So you got batteries now. And how is it to imagine you're going to be paying for these batteries?
Well, first, we have this fine kind of plane for when you're blowing things in the drywall.
Okay.
Also, a tin card slightly has motion back because you need some donuts. Come on, Harry. I don't think so. Don't give them. Also, marshmallow. Just up. You really need more marsh. And your metal's so delicious.
And this is really unhealthy.
Yeah, no, I guess. Also, another can of paint. All right, another can of paint. And for when everything isn't green enough, you can put it in your noodles. You can put it in your noodles now. Alright, now, I would number 3, who knows close place? 3 tokens to the Simplex Arcade. Like, it's the 3 points.
Could you cut me a check?
What is this? You have a pen? Here. You'll know when to use this. Goodbye. It's a pen.
Ace?
really thought that there would be more.
So, Doc, I really thought that you summoned me because you're facing insurmountable odds. But from what I can really tell, I don't think you need an ace in the hole. So what does he want?
Well, Ace Ninja here needs a battery.
Oh, a battery.
Actually, I mean 4 batteries. You heard the man, Ace? Give him 4 batteries.
When did he learn how to do that?
I don't know. Smells like cinnamon. So good.
Yeah.
Anyways. Okay, so I've been working on something here that I want to show you.
Oh, yeah?
See, now with this primary controller here,
I am the Dreadhawk. I am the knight. The knight is mine. The city is mine.
what fresh hell is this?
The city is mine. You think you want to know my secret identity? You can't know my secret identity.
Nightshade?
Yes, Nightshade. You remember Ace, right, from about a year ago? This is,
The Dreadhawk.
the Dreadhawk. Okay, so put the boots to him. Medium style.
Hey, do you want to know my secret identity?
Sure, I'll write it on your tombstone.
That is literally last time I'm dealing with superpower.
What's the matter, Nightshade? Doc's got you pushing too many pencils?
You'd be surprised at how much damage I can do with a pencil.
Fair enough.
If you two are quite down.
Like the of it.
Thanks. I couldn't get the skulls and the pelts through customs, though.
What, not back for good?
No, fortunately, this is only a temporary deal. Although I noticed you're having trouble with Evil 401 and the final exam, so I can probably help with that before I have to go back.
Yes. Let's.
I'll look at one.
So, panel.
Yeah.
Okay, so.
Ladies and gentlemen, Ace Blades. Okay. So in our auspicious panel, the things that we are going to be covering as quick as we can are things like review. We're going to be going over the stuff that we had from Evil 101, 201, and 301, and I know that's not how you name your classes, but I don't care. And what sort of force are you? We're going to be discussing things like, after you identify yourself as a villain, how are you going to behave? How are you going to sort of bring that out into the field? What do you want from this rock? If you do manage to take over the earth, what kind of things are you looking for as a villain? And then the ultimatum. It is very important once you have yourself set up and you have an idea as to what you want. What are you going to be asking from people, and how are you going to ask? It's very important. Also, the deliverance of such ultimatums. And first you get the power, then you get the what? So there's a lot of things that can happen if you do actually succeed as a villain. What are you going to be doing with yourself afterwards? You're going to have power, and you're going to have time. So we're going to be discussing that and making sure that you don't go crazy, or at least any crazier than you already are. And finally, we're going to be covering questions. We'll turn the floor over to you guys. And actually, at the very end, we are going to be showing finally that video that I shot with Wario, the fight at Kanji from 2012. So that we'll be viewing at the very end of this panel. Yeah. It only took you 2 freaking years. Shake physically. Alright, so, review of Evil 101. We went over things like the villain basics. Are you really a villain? Really? Or are you just like, some person who likes to wear costumes and rob banks? It's a very distinct difference. Creating an identity. So if you want to be a supervillain, exactly how are you going to achieve that? Specific alignments, talking about, are you a chaotic evil kind of villain? Do you just walk over and kick tables down and stuff like that? Or do you have a specific code or structure that you follow? Your base of operations, basic tips and that. Gathering minions and followers. So do you go down to like the local high school? Or do you go to this, is there like possibly a place you can go where people can sign up for that kind of thing, right? And the basics of plotting, the 5 W's, one of which is an H. The who, what, where, why, and how has a W at the end. So, the basics of that, because with any plan, any plot that you put together, you always have to plan for the fact that the wheels are going to come off at some point, and you want to be prepared. We also discussed things like weaponry, making an entrance, which is extraordinarily important, as well as just sort of the faux pas of doing that. Evil laughter, measuring exactly how long and when you should laugh maniacally, and knowing your enemies. Being aware of who exactly are the petty fools who are trying to oppose you. Now, in 201 we went over things like minion training, layer maintenance, fighting off the forces of justice, and in 301 we covered the locations of the bases that you can have, the pros and cons of each location, resources, how to get certain things if you want to do raw materials and refine them yourself, or purchase refined materials, as well as the construction and blending in or not blending in, depending on where you want to have your base and exactly how ostentatious you'd like to be. And then we covered things like defenses, if you want to have mutants or missiles or shielding or things like that around your evil base. Those are all very important. Now, what sort of force are you? 4 years ago, we covered the basics here. What kind of villain are you? But at this point, your career as a villain, at this point in your career is going to get, you need to ask yourself new questions. What sort of force are you? How affluent are you? Do you walk down the street and people run in the other direction from a giant robot in tow, or are you still able to blend in with the rest of society for the time being? It's very important to know the distinction there. Now, no, going to this level of villainy is not for everybody, and we will be getting to that soon. If you're content at your level, then you might not even go to this point. You may as well, walk out right now. But you aren't. You're going to park your caboose right there because I'd like to think there's nothing else better than this panel going on for the next 2 hours. It's prime time for nothing. Next slide. Why this is important? Figuring out what kind of force you are, how you choose to enact your villainous desires and urges can help you identify who you are. And that is very important. It can give you direction and focus. And surprisingly, it doesn't actually matter what kind of villain you are. How you choose to impose your evil upon others can be separate from your theme or talents. Now, we're going to go over 3 very basic kinds of villain forces that we've got here. And one of the things I mentioned there, it doesn't actually matter what kind of villain you are to the sort of forces you have. Some people are like, oh, if you're a black knight, you have your armor on, and you big black steed, big evil castle, and you live in the middle of the woods somewhere. Who's to say you're not a political kind of villain? You can be political, tyrannical, mythological, it's entirely up to you. Who you are and how you act can actually be 2 separate things. So for political villains, you're going to see things like, you've established a pseudo-political movement that's become all the rage on the internet, Evil Incorporated. You have staged a military coup of some kind on a small war-torn nation and named yourself the General King or something else that's equally as cool. You have an unknown source of wealth or influence, to lay claim to a small war-torn nation and have become benevolent and very ambitious dictator. Now, or you ran for president or vice president. You didn't win, but you ran. It's important to try. So, what do we see as a theme here? What identifies a political villain? Can anyone tell me? Anyone? Yes, you there.
Interest in politics and socio-political things?
Yes, but specifically as a theme, as a villain, what are we noticing through all of these things here? How they behave. Yes.
Very often, even in a process, you follow kind of follows like these rules, not quite.
Thank you. There's like a million buttons on this thing. This is what happens when you don't touch your equipment. We went over that in Evil 301. So yes, the theme here, what we're seeing identifies a political villain. They use others to enact their villainy. They have a very hands-off approach. So they're the kind of people that has a team. They're not a, like, get down there and kick over a baby carrot themselves. Like, no, they'll tell other people to get down there and kick some baby carrots. Like, they're very, you know, get out there and do things for me kind of person. Now, tyrannical villains. You have acquired a super weapon and you're holding the world for ransom, which is absolutely classic, and I don't know. You regularly terrorize your enemies or subjects with robots, mutants, lasers, explosions, and things. You're a master criminal and have stolen many valuable pieces of art, jewels, national monuments, and important people, or my lunch in the fridge. And I swear to God, maybe number 5, you steal my ham again. I don't even like ham sandwiches. If you touch my sandwich one more time. Next one. You are holding a person or a group of people hostage who are very important and you want to dehydrate them or something. Joker. So what's the theme here? Yes. Exactly. Very hands-on approach. This is direct villain to target contact. See, and that's the thing, is political villains have a team of people that enact their stuff. They tell people what to do, those people do those things. Tyrannical villains are very much more direct. They like to be the people with the lasers running around blowing things up. They like to be the people doing everything themselves. Now that's either because they can't find good enough help, they don't think they can find good enough help, or they just prefer to do things themselves. Mythological villains. You have found the secret to immortality, and you think you're entitled to the world as you should be. You are the conduit for an otherworldly malevolent force, and you got used to it after a while. There was a lab accident, and you gave yourself some sort of power which is totally not exploitable in any way, and you're a mother effing sorcerer. What's the theme here? Yes. Power. Exactly. The theme we're seeing here is much more focused inward. World is secondary to self-perfection. So mythological villains are much more important, like, they have much more focus on doing things like becoming immortal, or, you know, being a mother effing sorcerer. It's my favorite part. So yeah, that's the thing, is they're much more focused on themselves than they are on enacting evil upon others. The evil that they enact upon other people might be entirely incidental to what they're doing. So if they're trying to achieve immortality and that means they gotta kill like 100 people and bathe in their blood or something like that, they're not doing that because they find it fun. They might find it fun. But they're not doing that specifically because they enjoy that particular action. They're doing it because they need to perfect themselves. Now, these are not the only kinds of villainous forces that you can embody. There are obviously a lot of other things that you can try, but these are just some suggestions. Now, the demands. Wall of text. So, what do you want? You've identified yourself as a villain. You've honed your abilities. Maybe you've built a lair and gathered minions and or instant, and you've become a threat. Perhaps now you have the attention of every single lucid person on the planet, and in that situation, you really do need to make some sort of claim so that the higher-ups might indulge you and you don't look like a knob. Now, the real challenge is finding something that is actually attainable, otherwise you'll be dismissed as being ridiculous, and the only thing that the authority figures will give you is a tactical strike. So, you remember Austin Powers? Remember that? You know, Dr. Evil was like, I want $1 bajillion dollars, and they just kind of laughed. That's exactly the kind of thing we're talking about here, is you need to make sure that whatever it is that you're demanding is within reason. If you're, say, an evil villain who's taken over a local school or something like that, you're like, yes, I own this school is mine. You can't turn around to the people that you're now lording over and be like, give me the world. Because they're going to be like, we don't have that. Would you like a bean lunch? Maybe anything else? So finding a balance between the two extremes may prove to be challenging. So we've come up with some pros and cons for each kind of demand. So we're going to begin with the basics, the monetary. Pros. Money is the easiest thing to get. If you're making a demand from other people, money is by far going to be the thing that everyone has on hand. You'll be able to pay off your creditors and use it to buy other things. That's good. Having good credit. You can get several different currencies. Collect them all. I actually have started collecting currencies recently. It's super fun. You can use it to get what you want, to even to perpetuate other schemes. That's the thing, like, if you get, say, a bunch of gold or something, and then you try to turn around and use that gold to buy other things, there's only going to be a certain amount of people that will take gold as payment. Whereas if you have just currency, interchangeable currency, electronic currency even, or just, British pounds or some sort of thing, then you can always use that to buy other things that you need. Matter of fact, you can use a bunch of those British pounds to buy all the gold you want. Now, cons are things like it's easily traceable. If someone's going to wire you money, if someone's going to bring a duffel bag full of cash or something like that to you, they can find you. That is one of the easiest trace things that there are. Now, depending on the amount, you can devalue the currency, which is a double-edged sword. If you have them give you billions of pounds in British currency, then the British pound might actually plummet in its value. So you have to be careful with that. The Swiss might not oblige to store your money for you. But one time they don't hold a neutrality card. And if you get it in US dollars, you are definitely not helping the debts. We're talking about devaluing the currency. It's exactly the kind of thing that we're on about here. Now, for enslavement, pros. You have a nearly inexhaustible labor force to build machines of their inevitable doom. What kind of, come on, that's fun, right? I want you to build this big scary machine that's going to scare you a whole bunch later. Yeah. You'll definitely be able to get that everything that you always wanted. And in the light of their situation, like-minded opportunists may arise from the masses and offer valuable assistance. There is a phrase that goes like, I'm always on the winning side. Some of you may be familiar with that. Yes. And you'll find there's people like that. If you have a whole bunch of people, you're just like, congratulations, folks, I own you now. One person might come forward and be like, hey, so I want to help you willingly. And they might offer you stuff. You get people giving you things at that point, that's just fancy. And race and gender equality may be achieved overnight, especially when everyone is a labor class. No one has to check any privileges ever again. So, cons are things like, there have been slaves since forever. No points on originality there. There will be most likely talks of an uprising, so having, mind control or something like that is highly recommended, though intelligent conversation will be a scarcity then. So, just be careful with that. And one can't help but develop a conscience when looking at the masses and having second thoughts, like watching one of those Sarah McLachlan commercials of feeding children. Being the biggest jerk, far surpassing villain standards. No, seriously. If you say, decide to enslave a whole bunch of people, exactly none of those people are going to be your family. A grand total of 0 of those people. Now, property. So say you want land. You want them to give you back like a castle or something like that may belong to one of your ancestors. You don't have a bigger lawn to tell those damn kids to get off of. That's just a good time. You can declare yourself a monarch of some kind, and you may want to include a smidgen of brute force social to the locals that you mean business, because you don't want to stand in front of an entire crowd of people and be like, I'm king of everything! And someone's like, you're king of everything right up until I stick my boot up your back. So, just right up to there. You can put your beautiful face on all of the currency and then hyperinflate its value. Bison bucks. Does anybody remember that? Right? Yes. I'll make bison bucks and they'll be worth 2 British pounds when I get that the Queen of England. So, there you go. You can build a utopia by promising the world's greatest minds refuge from their oppressive and unenlightened home countries. Drain the world of its knowledge. That's actually one of the things that I plan to do. Because there's a lot of very interesting research, at least in my opinion, that could be going on that's not going on because there are too many people saying like, oh no, I'm scared of single-cell research. Someone might write a super virus. Well, duh. But we can also do things that help people too. Sometimes. So cons. Upkeep is a pain. If you have a lot of land, have you ever heard people say that they like living in an apartment because that means they don't have a lawn that they need to mow at any point in time? There you go. That's what that is. Just extrapolate that now by like 100,000. You're gonna run into a problem there. Building entire industries from the ground up really cannot be done in a day, especially deciding which side of the road to drive on. It's just, if you're making yourself a whole country, yeah, there's a lot of like mediated work, little nitpicky things that you gotta work out. And if you ask for a country, you'll probably get Greenland, which might not be bad because then you can name it Iceland, forcing Iceland to change its name to Greenland, and the world will just make a little more sense. You get nosy neighbors. I hate nosy neighbors. Anyway, materials. So, depending on the situation, you can ask for pretty much anything as long as you don't do something you'll regret. So, you know, not the drunk later. May or may not include the above mentioned. It can be a person, which kind of seems like overly unnecessary way to set up a blind date with a celebrity of your choosing, but Dante Bosco's not going to ask himself out. The feeling of, man, I wish I invented that, then becomes, man, I'm so glad your higher-ups are so spineless. If you can't figure out how a certain piece of tech works and you want that, you can just take it from people. That's what being a villain's all about. So, if it's something really rare or unique, you can become like the coolest person on the planet and like a 200 petawatt laser. I could just go on about that. Anyways, cons, it is too easy to plant a tracking device on whatever it is that you want. Whoever gave it to you will probably try to keep tabs on you. Again, like if you want the Mona Lisa, odds are A, they're gonna track it, and B, like you can't really put it up anywhere to show people because then people will be like, oh shit, that's the Mona Lisa. Oh, okay. Now everyone knows you have it. It does become like a balance between like I want to show off my fancy antiquities and I also don't want to get caught for having fancy antiquities. If you have a unique object or device, others will try and steal it from you. Now you've brought on more attention than you need. So again, you bring in the Mona Lisa, you hang it up in your sanctum, and you're real happy about that. That's great. You don't need to show it off to other people because you can see it, and you know, so it's happening, right? Right. But see now, other people like you are going to try to steal it. Or they're going to try to get your things and ransom it off you. You're not going to run into that problem quite so much with money as you will with particular material objects. No refunds or in-store credit in case it breaks, and you start all over again. So then I need to capture another queen from another country to get myself another soda pop machine. Who knows? If you've stolen something like art or an antique, upkeep without the proper know-how can be a challenge. So, who here knows how to clean and dust the Mona Lisa? Okay, so smart aleck over there. That's exactly my point. That thing's going to suffer from age, and you really like this, and then you got to bring in somebody to take care of it for you, maybe. That person might be a thief, and or you still need to pay them, maybe. So, you run into problems like that. So those are the kinds of things that you can sort of work towards, things you can demand from people, things that you can look for and want. Now, for the ultimatum. Now that you have an idea as to what you want, it's time to structure the threat. Here's a list of ways that you can get your benefactor's attention in the right way. Achieve communication with them on a secure channel, preferably a video feed. Calling somebody on a video call while they're on the toilet is a time-honored tradition. Because there is no more time when someone doesn't want to be bothered than when they're sitting down on the cans, and then suddenly your face is on their phone and you're standing there staring at them going like, hi. I want to talk to you about some things I'm going to take from you. I hope you're not too busy. Just like really inopportune moments, you just come up on a little private feed just to bug them. Now, that's another thing. You can also hijack a public broadcast, go from small to large here, or a popular website, and make your demands known to the entire world, a la Megatron. I hate referencing those movies, but it's a good point. It may be slightly more difficult to pull off, but it's great publicity. I mean, if I say, capture the Queen of England or something like that, not everybody's going to know about that because they might not put it on the news or something, and even if they do, it's only going to reach a certain amount of people. If I manage to get myself on every screen worldwide, then people know. Not only that, but then when I make my demands to people that are going to be paying money or whatever to get the Queen back, now the entire world knows what the price is. So if the Queen doesn't come back, we know exactly how much money they don't have. Or how much they don't like their Queen. Send them a pre-recorded message. But even if you do, mark it as private, because there'll likely be other eyes watching, so maybe have it explode or something. Be creative. Yeah, so like if you send somebody a message that is pre-recorded, you know, having this message will self-destruct thing, classic. You always want to have something like that. And you know there's going to be other people watching it as it's on its way to its target, so don't imagine that it's only going to be that one person that's going to see it. Drop in on them at an inappropriate time, i.e. family dinner, golf game, Sunday mass, or their daughter's dance recital. It'll leave you vulnerable for an attack if you're not careful, but as we've covered before, you should know how to make entrance. And that's the thing. If they're, say, sitting down at family dinner, or if they're in church, and you like have the roof open and you fly in or something like that and land and then like make some kind of demand to that person and then fly away again, like you just stepped in on their private life. That sucks. Especially if it's your kid's recital or whatever. That's family time. Like you're not thinking about how the world's gonna be saved tomorrow, etc., etc. You're watching your kid do a really terrible dance on stage. Terrible. But see, doing so gets to people on a really personal level, and you want that. You want to be able to get in there. Or you can get them to come to you. Summon them to a meeting where you can discuss in length about your wants. It doesn't necessarily mean there won't be a sniper on you like a blemish on a teenager's face, but you definitely have more control when playing defensive and asking them to come to you. You can plan for it. You can plan against that plan. And that goes in a circle bucket face forever, so just be careful about that. Deliverance. So how are you going to deliver your ultimatum? See, now that you have your target's undivided attention, they really want to see if you're committed to your objective. Given that you're a person of your word, you will oblige them. There is a significant portion of people who will take your claim at face value and give you what you want, and some might say that those are the chumps of this world, and they probably didn't deserve your attention in the first place. I might agree. Ideally, you want to show your target what you are capable of in a controlled environment before they have a chance to decide. After all, you did put an awful lot of love, care, and attention into your doomsday plan. It'd be a shame if no one got to witness at least a little of its majesty. Now, these demonstrations of your power would be things like a nuclear warhead test out in the ocean, incinerating someone who your target cares about, or firing an orbital laser at a location with only some people in it. So, show them that you're serious. If you're threatening somebody with an orbital doom laser and then you ask for money, the next thing that follows before they can answer is a test of the doom laser. Now, does anyone have any suggestions? Does anybody have any ideas as to things that they can do that are like this? Yes.
Kinetic bombardment. There's an orbital satellite that actually has metal rods that when they come into contact with the Earth cause an insurmountable amount of damage.
So like an earthquake thing in space.
Exactly.
See, there you go. Now see, where would you cause this earthquake then? Not in a huge city zone. Like, somewhere where you can be like, look at this devastating damage. I can now pull off this devastating damage on your kid's dance recital. And the dance might even improve. Those are the kinds of things you can look at. Now, when you first get your power, congratulations. If you've made it this far, you've officially succeeded in getting what it is that you want. Now that you've established yourself as a superpower of liberty and freedom, if that's what you're up to, I don't know, then you can follow through on your plans that you've been making for as long as you've been alive. Because every single one of you here, as far as I'm concerned, was born evil, whether you've been conscious of it or not. You've been making malicious plans and setting sinister goals your entire life. Even by attending this very panel, you've identified yourself as a fledgling villain, and trying to prove otherwise will only make you seem more suspicious. Probably. Now, what to do? You've now reached the climax of all of your planning and hard work, and you now peer over the precipice of the unknown. What do I do now? Well, the best thing about being ruler of every living being on your planet is you can follow your own path. Here are a few suggestions. Righteousness, you can become a benevolent ruler of all things. Imperialism, become a world emperor, rule the world. And make the very hard decisions that countries could have gone to war for. Assemble an army of loyalists to help you maintain your rule while you work on becoming immortal or implant your brain into a machine or something else totally wicked. Be a vengeful god. you are thoroughly sick with the human race and decide to eliminate all of them and replace them with robots or creatures of your own design, killing 7 billion people, though may get tedious after a while, but you will achieve your desired outcome. Until, of course, my robot upgrades. And then you can also be a spiteful god, move to the moon, blow up the earth. Well done, you monster. Now, with power comes time. When all is said and done, the human race has been bent to your will like a straw in your milkshake. What do you do next? A mind as brilliant as yours should only indulge in the finest of activities to keep yourself occupied for the rest of your natural or unnatural life. So things that you can travel, you can catch up on your shows. There's a lot of Netflix to watch. You can have your actors, even from your favorite shows, act out episodes that you wrote and direct yourself. You can exact revenge on everyone who had wronged you in the past, even if they're dead. You can, like, egg their house or something. Build a giant robot, or several. Build a spaceship and do some real traveling. Enrich your mind. Read or have it downloaded onto your brain via cybernetic enhancement. Live out your days in a sloth sanctuary in Costa Rica. How did I get in there? Finally, make yourself a tall, cool glass of lemonade. Yeah. And the world is your canvas now. Be creative, and then you can die alone, but content. That sounds like a somber turn, right? We went from lemonade to dying alone. Lemonade. Anyways, so now we're going to take a few questions. But before that, I would just like to say, everybody, I'm really glad that you stopped by today and those other days and years previous when we've held these panels. Your attendance has really meant a lot to Ace and I, and we couldn't have gotten this popular without your support. We would also like to thank the staff at Con G for keeping us in the programming and making us one of the top attractions in this wonderful convention. Like most great villains, our work is never done, so stick around afterwards for the exam. We're going to be holding that across the hallway there. And the bonus video, which I'm going to be showing before that. We hope you studied for this. It will include material from all 4 of our panels and will be worth 100% of your grade. If you fail, you can consider yourself to be one of those good guys. But if you pass, you'll be welcomed among the greatest villains as theoretical equals. Of course, everyone needs those street smarts. So, questions? Questions? Have you any of those? Move forward. Anybody? Have you some?
Considering this is your last panel, are you talking about having your future plans
Absolutely. Going forward from this, I have set up a thing called Patreon. And that is a place where you guys can go and give monthly for me to continue making videos on YouTube, doing things like this. But in that, depending on how much that you donate, we'll be doing things like meeting up downtown and causing some random destruction or things like that. We'll run around and turn over cars and light fires, right? And I'll laugh and make jokes and stuff, and somebody will be like, "Oh, Doc, you're a riot." I'll be like, "I'm a riot. You're a riot." But yes, there'll be things like meeting up around town. There'll be things like gaming sessions online through Steam games and stuff like that. We'll be doing a whole bunch of other things like Google Hangouts and live streams and just other stuff that's available just for the people that are making those donations. So yeah, we're going to be doing some more of that. I'm also going to see if I can put together some kind of minion for us in the future, depending on how much we get donated monthly, and then actually start like a for real business. Like a for real organization. Anybody else? Yes.
What are your stances on villainous compromises? As in, say, 2 villains, for example, want to rule the world. Do we compromise and then go together? Or is it now, oh, we're going to be fine for now, but then when we get to the finish line, it's cut?
That's very particular because, see, being a villain is all about not compromising for other people. But if you do find a like-minded individual, someone else who also wants to rule the world, and you like the cut of their jib, they like the cut of your jib, you guys can team up. It's entirely up to you. Now we have about 10 minutes left, and this video is about 5 minutes, so I'm going to take a few more questions, and we're going to get to it. Loki.
How do you feel about good brothers that you can't kill?
I'm sorry?
How do you get rid of good brothers you can't kill?
That is a tough one. Getting rid of the good brother that you can't kill. That big bottomless pit, that if you throw him off the edge of a cliff into a big black hole in space, oh wait. Yeah. Any more questions? Ted Mosby. people, they're like, oh, what about Rob Ford? I'm like, Rob Ford is an accidental moron. Okay? And here's the thing, I can't believe that one human being can be that stupid. It's like, all this time he's like, I'm gonna totally like wreck this city, and I'm gonna tear down all the bike lanes, and I'm gonna wreck all this stuff, it's gonna be totally cool, guys. I was like, there's no way someone can be this ridiculous. He's gotta have some kind of modus operandi. Like, I was giving him so much credit. I'm like, there has to be some kind of plan, or something. But there wasn't. The difference is, in a couple of months, he's going to probably be, hopefully, elected into somebody else, and I'm still going to be here. Anybody else? Think sure.
Cannibalism. Too evil? Too crazy?
No such thing. As a villain, no such thing. Anybody else? I'm going to back to you.
Have you taken over Google Plus yet?
Have I taken over Google Plus? I'd like to think I've taken over a bit. I'm on my way on that, don't worry. And you?
What are your personal evil plans for the future? Like,
Yes. Here's the thing. Like, in my wildest dreams, if we get enough people donating money in Evil Incorporated on the Patreon site for this stuff, I do have plans to buy a facility in the city and actually open up an Evil Incorporated headquarters. And that's where people can get together, we can make plans, we can do things that actually change things in the city, like clean up a park, or picket things we don't like, or set fire to certain people. So, you know, you're arson. So, you know, just like, but those are the things, like, I basically set myself as like a series of goals. I'm like, okay, if I make this much, I can quit my day job and start doing this like full time and start building out content, a lot more, a lot better stuff. If I make this much, I can start including more people in the content that I'm creating. If I'm making this much, I can actually buy a facility and start doing like for real villain stuff and working my way up. So, hopefully, and Big Mike.
Question, how do you know for sure, if you're just starting out swirling, that your science isn't inferior science?
My science is not inferior science. How do you know it's not inferior science? Because it all depends on whether or not somebody else getting pushed through a wall. For those of you who are wondering what the context is on that, go to This Week in Geeks, These Warriors Are Terrible. And there is a game where I play a tabletop game with people as a podcast, and I get to play a mad scientist, and that's like my bread and butter. So it turned out super well. I think it's probably one of the best shows so far. You should definitely check it out. One more question, and then we'll show the video. And right.
You got a hand over here.
Hand over. Yes.
Is there an evil version of Kickstarter you could use for this?
I'd like to think it's Patreon. That's the thing, like, Kickstarter is like everybody donates a whole bunch of money for one lump sum. Patreon is a monthly thing, so like, you want to give like $2, $5, $10 a month or something like that. It's a small amount, but it adds up over time, and it makes my life a lot easier. Alright, so now, dim the lights, and feel free to enjoy these
Open areas, and always talk to strangers, because they might have some useful information for you. And if they don't, at least you made a friend.
So when I watch that, I say, what Steve said is like, well, that'd be great to put in the show. That just cost me, $75,000, right?
Superhuman gang violence. It's a problem that has been plaguing major cities since heroes and villains first began to clash forces. But what once began as a fight of good versus evil has now recently turned into a battle of egos. Millions of dollars in property damages, lawsuits, injuries, and in some cases, deaths. But where does that leave you? Specialist on superhuman politics, Eustace T. Willigan, had this to say.
It's a problem.
One such individual in the GTA is Toronto's self-styled greatest villain, Dr. Holocaust. With repeated attacks on the city's inhabitants and grudge matches with individuals such as the Savage Bandito and the mysterious world-class villain, Professor Skull, Dr. Holocaust has certainly made an impression. But what is he up to now? Sources say he is preparing for yet another grudge match, this time in Guelph, with an individual known as the Famicom Rider and his partner Marsville at this year's Conji of 2012. With another possible disaster on the horizon, locals are wondering if they should get involved or steer clear.
Are you ready?
I don't like machines that shoot stuff. Tough.
brought downtown 12 last night for what was assumed to be the fight between local villain Dr. Holocaust and the Famicom writer who was said to be teamed up with Marsdro. Forensic specialist Henry H. Frampton had this to say at the scene.
Somebody crossed the streams, that's for damn sure.
Despite the irreparable damage to the Holiday Inn, there were thankfully no injuries or deaths. And because no bodies could be found on the scene, it is assumed that the grudge match had ended in a draw. This has been Suzanne Sandcaster reporting live in the field for Toronto News 5.
In open areas, and always talk to strangers, because they might have some useful information for you.
Thank you again, everybody, for attending Evil 401.